Form breakdown comes in many different forms. Any sign of form breakdown is going to be a sign of fatigue, or it might just be a sign that you're pushing things a little bit too quickly, right? Now, week 5 to 7, what you're probably getting there is you're already incredibly fatigued from week 4, day 2, assuming you're doing the original RTA1 squat program. So a lot of the time we see some breakdown on week 5, day 1 and day 2. That's normal. We see it. Is it something we like? No, it's absolutely not. But it does give you a little bit of an impetus to then start paying a bit more attention to your recovery, maybe getting those niggles sorted out, maybe taking on a bit more calories, prioritizing sleep, prioritizing recovery. Now, when it comes to any intense training cycle, like the RTA, like the RTA2, like the Express program, like the bench program, there will come a point where the weight gets significantly heavy, or more importantly, the rate of progression becomes significantly steep, where form breakdown might occur, or you're at risk of form breakdown. In my opinion, that is not carte blanche to say, I am at week 5, week 6, week 7, my form is breaking down. It's okay because it's near the end of the cycle and I'm nearly done and I'll just get the PB at the end. In my opinion, it is still something you should chase as aggressively as you would have chased it in the initial 2 or 3 weeks of training. What I don't want to see though, and this is a major concern for some people, is basically they'll get to the point where they're a little bit more fatigued. The weight on the barbell is a little bit heavier. The cycle is asking a little bit more from you. And you get form breakdown in the point where the barbell moves a little bit more slowly. The joint angles mightn't be exactly as they would be with 50% of your 1 rep max. And now suddenly they take their foot off the gas and say, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's stop. Let's reassess. I don't want to go any heavier. A heavy squat is not going to look the exact same as your squat with 20 kilos, your squat with 50 kilos. It simply won't. The barbell will move more slowly. You will probably have to accommodate the weight by doing something slightly different. Does that mean that squat is incredibly poor? No. It just means that you're probably doing things slightly differently at lighter weights. That might be you're getting away with a different position because the barbell is moving more quickly, or it might be you're able to maintain a certain position because the weight is relatively light and it's not actually the ideal position for you to be in. So form breakdown isn't necessarily something that I'm okay with and give you carte blanche because you're in the last 25% of the program. But form breakdown at the point where your barbell is moving a little bit more slowly, or you look to be moving a small bit more differently because the weight is heavier, isn't something you should be concerned with. The last thing I want to say here is that it has oftentimes occurred where somebody will start changing things because the weight gets a little bit heavier. What do I mean by this? Well, an example would be cutting depth in your squat, or we'll see some localized flexion in the upper back, or we'll start to see people really opening up their wrist to get that bar in a slightly different position because the weight is getting heavier and they're kind of cheating it a little bit. We don't like that at all. We still want you to maintain good positions. We still want you to maintain as close to the ideal framework for the squat as possible, but just beware that heavier squats are going to cause you to look slightly more different than they will at 20, 50 or 100 kilos.
I would say, so, if you look at the coach chat on the app, for example, they get dozens of videos every day of athletes. 90%, 95%, say 9 out of 10 people have very definite things that they could improve upon and change in their squat that will improve their 1 rep max at a later stage. Maybe 1 in 10 people, or maybe even less, like 1 in 20, someone will have an excellent squat, a perfect. I can think of 2 this week where there was absolutely nothing I could give them on feedback. And we don't want to give feedback if it's going to make you neurotic, where these people will have beautiful squats and they're like, not that happy, doesn't look great, not sure what to change. And in those scenarios, the piece of advice is your squat is perfect, keep training or forget about it. So that's also, I'm not saying statistically you probably have things to improve upon, and statistically your form probably is breaking down worse than it should be, but there's also a chance that you're a bit too neurotic about it when there's no need. I'm going to say most people, definitely most people, but every so often someone comes along where you're like, there's nothing wrong, keep going.